Welcome to Vulnerability, Introspection and Growth, the podcast where we explore the beautiful, messy and transformative magic that happens when we dare to go within. I'm your host, Robin Harris, and in each episode we'll dive into real, honest stories from people who've faced their fears, embraced their vulnerabilities and discovered unexpected growth in their personal lives, careers, or businesses. This is a space for deep listening, open hearts, and soul-nourishing conversations. Because when we meet ourselves in our rawest moments, that's often where our greatest wisdom starts. Let's begin. Hello and welcome back to this next episode of Vulnerability, Introspection and Growth. And today I'm absolutely delighted to have a wonderful friend of mine, Maria Newman, joining us on this episode. And just to introduce Maria, she knows all too well what it's like to feel stuck and to have challenges in life. Those times in life which seem so difficult to overcome when you're a busy working mum, particularly. And she took the opportunity to step away from her corporate career as a project manager working at Rolls-Royce in Bristol, I believe, so she could focus on what was to be next for her. And she'd become caught up on the treadmill of life and found herself waking up most mornings asking, is this it? As so many of us, I'm sure, can relate to. So having put off doing something about it, she took that brave decision to take action and left her corporate job, which at the time was the thing that was making her feel stuck. She now helps high-achieving working mums who feel under pressure to overcome the challenges they face and build a balanced life, which is what we all hope for. So Maria, so wonderful to have you here. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for asking me to be a guest. It's a pleasure to be here.
And as with each of these podcast episodes, I'm going to start off with 3 questions to help listeners know, is this an episode that really resonates for them? So the first of those is, what makes your story relatable to others?
It's relatable because actually a lot of us find ourselves in the position of waking up in the morning saying, is this it? There must be more. I'm meant for more.
Is this as good as it gets? Really? I'm sure it's meant to be more than this. And who do you feel will gain the most from listening to this conversation?
It's going to be mums. Everybody will benefit. In the main, it's going to be mums because I am a mum and I was looking for the balance in life, which meant I wanted a career. I also wanted to be there for my family.
Yes. And why not? And I think, although the challenges are different, additional perhaps for mums, they have so much to offer because of that. Because you've learned things that other people who aren't juggling all of that have learned. Those other people haven't learned, so you've got those to share. And what do you hope people will take away from this conversation?
That no matter who you are, no matter what resources you have around you, anything is possible.
I love that. Potential and possibility, and not limiting ourselves. Linking back to that question of, is this it? But if you would start just by telling us a little bit about what led you to deciding that corporate wasn't where you wanted to be anymore.
So it's not a short story.
That's fine.
I'll keep it short. I decided to take voluntary redundancy back in August 2016. And at the time, my son was about 10 and a half months and my daughter was 2.5 years. The trigger, though, for me making that decision happened when I was just a young student who was in the process of having her year out and her year in industry, and I was in the car with a senior manager. So I'm working whilst I'm at university. I'm in the car with a senior manager. We're actually going to Uxbridge University in London to recruit other year in industry students. And I said to him, because I was really keen, so how did you get to where you are today? And the short version was, well, I started at Rolls-Royce as an apprentice. I then was offered a graduate job. Before I know, I was being promoted to a manager. I got married to my wife. We had a couple of children. And now the pension is too good to leave. And I thought, oh my word, that sounds like a sentence, not living life. And I made a commitment to myself there and then that I was only ever going to stay in a company 5 years, because I didn't want to have that ball and chain around my ankle that, the pension is too good.
Yes, it's not exactly the enthusiastic response I'm sure you were hoping for.
No, no, not really. So I finished my degree. I went back to Rolls-Royce because I'd done my year in industry with Rolls-Royce, and I saw myself following his pattern. 5 years passed, 10 years passed. We're coming up to, like, we've passed 15 years. And there were opportunities to leave, and yet I never took them, because in my mind, I was like, well, I haven't got enough experience. I haven't got the right skills. Who else is going to want to employ me? And all of these thoughts, these limiting thoughts that were stopping me, because actually I was in a company and I was comfortable. There was no painful reason to leave. And fast forward back to 2016, and I was thinking, if I do not go now, I am never going to leave, and I'm actually going to turn into that senior manager, and it will be something that I look back on and I regret. So that's what made me choose to leave that company, only with the expectation that I was going to find another company that was more in line with my values. Now I was a mum with 2 small children. So I did something that I thought was natural. I thought, I don't know actually what is next, other than I think I want to work for someone else. So I decided to search out a life coach, because I wasn't looking for a career. I was looking for a career that fitted with how I saw my life panning out. And I met a wonderful lady. Her name is Anna Duckworth. She's awesome. And one of the first questions she asked me was, so Maria, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, I'd love to have my own business, but I don't have an idea. And she said, well, would you like to explore the options of, being a business owner and being employed? And I was like, yeah, let's have a look. Let's see what happens. And actually, ultimately, it led me to saying, well, I don't want to be in corporate anymore. I want to have an adventure in this world of being a business owner, which led me to open up my first business called Fill That Space. It was about promoting local Bristol artists. I loved working with creative individuals who were brilliant at what they did, but couldn't market themselves. And at the same time as doing that, because by leaving Rolls-Royce, I decided to, give myself some time to find my feet. I'd also started blogging on Facebook as Mummy on a Break, because I'd been a mummy. I was a mummy, and had been on a break. And the reason for that was I knew that I was not alone in feeling how I had felt. And also, I wanted a way of making sure that I stayed present and I cherished the opportunity that I'd been given.
Can I just jump in there? I loved what you were saying when you were thinking about leaving corporate and you weren't really sure what to do, and you met with this coach, that it was about your values and that you wanted to find something that was meeting those values rather than just staying comfortable. And I kind of really feel for you when you said 10 years, 5 years had gone past, 10 years had gone past, you were now at your 15 years. That's a long period of time, and a time, that length of time, you get comfortable. You get to know the ins and the outs of the company, and you've built up your holiday leave and you've built up your salary, and you've maybe had a few promotions, and there may be further up that ladder that you could go. And it's so easy just to stick with it, isn't it? Was it your values as part of that kind of, this isn't ticking all my boxes? Was it, there's something in there that you thought, there's something I want to explore, I want adventure, or where was it in your values? So if people are listening and they're sort of maybe thinking, oh, gosh, that's me, should I stay? Because for some people, that is the right path for them, to stay in that company and to carry on until they retire. But for other people, they maybe are feeling a little bit of itchy feet, and they're maybe wondering, do I go? Do I stay? How do I make that decision?
The underlying factor that was always the first phrase that popped into my mind was like a thorn in my side was I was in a highly technical company. And although, when I see aircraft in the skies, it would fill me with pride because, whether you're seeing someone going on holiday and they're in an aeroplane, or you're at an air show and there's lots of military aircraft flying around, there's the pride in the fact that, I work for the company that has an input into how we can fly. Highly technical. But the thing is, whereas I'd sit with engineers, because I wasn't an engineer, I'd never done engineering, I'd sit with engineers and I could see that they had the passion for the actual product, whereas I didn't. And I always felt a bit like, I'm really proud to work for the company, and yet, and I wanted to have that same enthusiasm, that same passion, that same drive for the thing as everybody else had.
So that why of why am I in this job? What's it doing for me
yeah,
as well as for the
yeah,
company?
exactly. And I loved working with the people. So I was a project manager. So I was always with people, and I'd always be delivering something. And so bringing people together in order for the project to be delivered. And that was great. And I really thrived on being with people. It's just the product that was just like, I wish I could just be a bit more enthusiastic about metal.
And yet
And I
you,
wasn't.
the skills and the passion that you had, you use now for the business that you're in, I believe.
Well, exactly. So I want to rewind just a little bit because
Yeah, sure.
my story, like most people's stories, is evolving, and it continues to evolve. So back then, like I said, I was blogging as mummy on a break. I had filled that space as my business, and again, something wasn't quite right. So I realized, I need to wind down, fill that space, and I need to do something. So which brings us back to like your point. I need to be doing something that really lights a fire in me, and it needs to be something to do with helping people like me. And you'd probably think, oh great, she's come to the end of the story. And it's like, no, we're still not quite there yet. So I
That's
thought,
okay. I love that your story evolves over time, and each step of the way gives you something, even if it's only clarity on, no, this isn't where I want to be. But in doing that, I've ticked a box, and I've said that's not quite the right way, so I can hone where I'm heading, and that I don't have to get it right first time. It's okay for my business to evolve, as you say, we're always transitioning through something, we're always learning, we're always growing. It's a perfect example of that.
and that is really important for anyone listening this to really take it in. You don't have to make the ultimate right decision now.
Yes.
It's making the right decision for this moment that's going to get you closer to where you should be. So I thought, okay, then I'm going to help mums like me reach a point in their life and go, right, okay, then this is the direction that I want to take. And I thought, being a mum, and because I didn't have the skills yet for one-to-one coaching, I'll design an online course that mums can work through at a time that suits them, so they don't have to be in a specific time at a specific place. And then that'll help them and it'll be great. So I lovingly, Robin, lovingly recorded videos, put content together. And I don't know
Heart and
whether
soul into this.
it was like literally, I put myself out there. And I don't know whether you've seen the film Field of Dreams.
Yes.
Kevin Costner is the lead, and he's hearing voices say, build it and they will come. Well, he built it, they came. I built it and I got nothing. I just got tumbleweeds,
Ooh.
which was really disheartening because, like I've said, I've poured everything into this online course, which I know is going to be really useful, and yet nobody wants it. And at that moment, it was 2020, and we all know what happened at the beginning of 2020. So we haven't quite shut down yet. At the beginning of 2020, eventually the world stopped. So I'd published the course, nothing happened, then the world stops. And I'm thinking, right, well, what do I do now? I'm not going to go in. I'm still very happy not being employed. However, you cannot live on air alone. I need to generate a salary. And I took a moment and I thought, so what do I do? What can I do that I think people would need? And I'd been podcasting for about 8 months at that point. And I thought, well, that's it. Look, I know it's not difficult. I thought it was difficult before I started and then realized it wasn't. I'm going to teach people how to podcast. I'll put on a online workshop. It's 1 hour. And in that 1 hour, I will literally teach people how to podcast. So that's what I did. I put it out into the world, having never used Zoom before, like a lot of the world, and having never run a workshop before, created a workshop before. And people wanted it, which was good. And that then sort of started me on the, okay, then now I'm a business owner because I am generating some money. I'm creating workshops. People are buying. This is good. However, still had this voice in my head saying, you should be helping people on a one-to-one basis for themselves, not give them a skill. And so I throughout that time of running the workshop, I was thinking, well, how do I help people? What is it? And eventually I did my NLP course. I had some lovely friends who quite happily would be guinea pigs and let me practice on them. And eventually I got to the point of I was offering one-to-one coaching to women, to mums, to help them with whatever the challenge was that they were going through. Because, in life, we all have our own challenges to overcome, whether it's something that's quite personal and we've got a lack of confidence, or whether it's something that's a bit more tangible and it's having difficult conversations. It's how do I become visible? It's how do I network? Because I also run my own online networking group. So, it's there. I'm here to help women, help mums with the thing, the actual block that's stopping them from moving forward.
I love the way as well you just, those simple little justs that are actually so difficult, but that you looked at, what can I do? And you turned that into something that you could monetize. Whether that's right at the beginning of the lockdown, that whole rabbit in the headlights, what on earth am I going to do? How am I going to make money during this time when we're all stuck at home, when we didn't know how long that was going to be, and we didn't have Zoom and all of these things to the degree that we do now. So it was all breaking new ground. And you just came up with, right, I will show people how to podcast because that's something that I can do that not everybody can do. And it was so timely as well, wasn't it? Because everything transitioned online. So everybody was pivoting to doing those sorts of things. And people do so much through podcasting. So that ability to not panic too much, because I'm sure there were moments when you kind of went, but to be able to just look at these are my skills. How do I use these skills? And it can be as simple as that. It doesn't have to be, I need to go out and learn the next thing and qualify in the next thing. What can I already do? And then build from there.
Very much so, very much so. And getting to the point of where you decide you do know what you want to offer.
Yeah.
It does take small steps, and there are highs and there are lows. I mean, I can remember back in, it was the end of 2018, and it was that point of I was winding down, fill that space, thinking, well, what do I do next? And it was Christmas as well, and I was in the conservatory throwing myself a pity party because I was like, well, I don't know what to do now. That hasn't worked out in the way I want it to work out. What are my options? And I looked through the patio doors to my children who were in the lounge, happily sort of getting involved in Christmas, and here's me, my pity party, away from them, and I'm thinking, what are you doing? All right, that didn't work out. It's not the end of the world. You're still healthy. You've got two beautiful children. You've got a wonderful husband who supports you. You've thrown your pity party. You can get over it now, and let's decide what's next, because there are people who have so much less than you. Let's use the gratitude, and it's now time to move on. And those moments happened after that as well, where you just become a bit stuck yourself, and you're thinking, all right, this isn't going how I quite wanted it to go. How do I navigate this without allowing it to drag you down and stop you? Because life has its challenges. It's not all wonderful. Even when you see people who seem mega successful, they will have had their own moments where they've had to have a good talk to themselves to continue and to move through the challenge, the difficulty, so that they continue on their journey.
Perfect example of where it's good to find a coach like you who can help with how we speak to ourselves and how we engage with gratitude. There's a lot of talk about think positively, which kind of makes my skin crawl sometimes because people think that I just need to think positive and use my affirmations. And actually, it's a bit deeper than that. And it's that I came across something just the other day listening to an audiobook. Thank you, Maria. You've given me an audiobook addiction. So I don't know whether to thank you or blame you. But because I know you're a great fan of the
Oh, I
audiobook,
love
aren't you?
Audible. Yeah.
So this one was talking about that idea of savoring the things that we are grateful for, rather than just going, oh, I'll write that in my gratitude diary today and move on. And then we just end up going through the same things every day, don't we? I'm thankful for the roof over my head, thankful for my food, thankful for whatever. But actually thinking, I'm thankful for my children. Why? What do they give me? Why am I grateful for them? What pleasure do I get out of being a mom? What pleasure do I get out of having a partner like this and the relationship that we have, of this home that I live in that I've created, but really savoring those things and feeling, because the more we can bring those senses in, the more we actually that is real, it's present, we're in it, we're experiencing it, rather than just it all, because I think we spend so much time up in our headspace, whereas getting into our body, listening when they say be heart led, listen to your gut, it's true, because they send more information to the brain, head brain, than the head brain sends down to the body. So the body holds all that wisdom. What other tips would you give to people who are maybe feeling stuck and struggling to know, how do I shift this funk that I'm sitting in? Because I'm stuck not just in knowing how to move forward, but just feeling that I even can.
Yeah. It's funny because we are told, like you've said, that we just need to move on. Just like Just cheer
Just
up.
like that.
It'd be
Yeah.
fine. It'd be fine. Just, and I know you're a great believer in this. When you feel something, give yourself the time to feel whatever it is, because that is your body communicating to you. If you're feeling stuck, your body is trying to tell you something, and it might not come to you in that moment. It will come to you. And at the same time, I'm not advocating and telling people, all right, then if you feel stuck, then you just have to stay there until eventually it goes away, because then that's the other end of the scale and you're never going to get out of it. So the first thing I advise anybody to do is pause and just take a moment to try and understand why you're feeling how you're feeling. What makes that feeling uncomfortable? And just be with it, because it will give you answers. The next thing for me is about writing lists, good lists. So if we want to turn things around and be positive and be genuinely positive, because, just trying to smile for the sake of smiling so that you can be positive, it's just going to feel uncomfortable and unnatural. So that's not the right thing to do. It's making lists of things that bring you joy, and start small, the smallest you can, and then build. Because people are going like, well, I've got nothing to be joyful about. Well, I mean, what is there? I'm feeling stuck. Why would I feel joyful? Well, the fact that you actually woke up this morning is a huge thing to be joyful about. And it might seem minor, and yet it's actually massive. So make a list of the things that bring you joy, as a way of naturally changing your mood and refocusing yourself from I'm stuck to I can see other things. And
From that
once you
sense of there's nothing to that sense of potential, and that no longer taking things just for granted, because they won't necessarily always be there. So we can't just say, oh, well, I've got a roof over my head, therefore, no, I've got a roof over my head. It's amazing that I've got a roof over my head, and really appreciating this roof over my head.
yeah, so important, so important. And then it's looking at things that you have the skill for, because all of us are skillful in many things.
Yes,
And
and not
again,
discounting them just because they're things that we have done and think that's no big skill, is it? Everybody can do that.
do you know what? The greatest learning point I've taken, I say greatest, probably, going from being employed to being self employed, is when I stepped into this new world, I literally threw everything that I knew and all the skills I had out the window, because, well, I'm a business owner now. That's completely new. And it took me quite a while to go, hang on a second. I might be in a new sector. However, I wasn't literally born yesterday. I have many, many years' experience of working in a very challenging environment. I've done many things, which means I have acquired many skills. However, many business people I bump into have done exactly the same thing that I did. Oh, well, I'm a business owner now. I know nothing. You know lots.
You're not a blank slate, are you?
No, exactly. So those are the 3 steps I would suggest individuals go through if they are feeling stuck. Pause so that you really understand where this stuckness is coming from, rather than trying to push it away. 2, list what you are joyful for, as a way of refocusing your mind and making you feel lighter. And 3, making a list of like your skills. What are you good at? What can you do?
And not discounting any of them, thinking, oh, well, that's not important, or lots of other people can do that. Only you do it in the way that you do it. You could have looked at the skill of podcasting and thought, well, loads of people podcast. I know it's quite easy, but lots of other people don't. that's maybe something I can do that some other people can't do yet. And I could help them on that journey. So just as we round up, what would you like to share as a key message for people to take away?
Anything is possible. Literally, anything is possible. We all have the resources we need to do the things we want to do. It takes courage to step outside that comfort zone, like I did, in order for you to create that life that you want. And it's out there, it's within your reach.
And just to add to that, taking that step and that leap and being courageous in that way doesn't mean to say that you don't feel the fear.
Yes.
Because it's quite scary. But then if we remember that excitement is just anxiety where you breathe, anxiety is just excitement where you forget to breathe. So keep breathing.
Can I just bring in one thing there?
Sure.
We were watching a film last night called So We Bought a Zoo, and it's absolutely brilliant.
Yes, I know the movie. Good one.
So one of the things in it that he says is you just need 20 seconds of bravery. Just give yourself 20 seconds of bravery, and you'll find that this is my added bit, this will build the momentum you need to keep going. Give yourselves 20 seconds of bravery.
And sometimes it is saying that, yes, and then working it out afterwards. If it feels like it's a right step for you in that scary, exciting way, we don't have to push ourselves. I don't like talking too much about by being outside of the comfort zone, but at the edge of the comfort zone, and where something inside of you just goes, yes, I wish I could. Because when we feel drawn to something, I think it's actually resonating with what is right for us. So we don't have to have all the answers. You're a beautiful example of that. We can say yes and then figure it out along the way, knowing that the resources will either we'll find them within or something will come up that opens the next door and shows us the next step. And I'm so grateful, Maria, that you've come today, shared your story, and it's been a wonderful example of all of those ways that we do have the resources to support ourselves, and we can do this, and we can build the life that we dream of. So if you would now just share, let us all know, where can we contact you? Where can we find you for anybody watching who wants to connect?
So if you type Maria Newman into your search engine, you will see me come up on LinkedIn, on TikTok, on Facebook, on Instagram. And you can also check out more on my website, which is www.mummyonabreak.co.uk.
Fantastic, thank you. And Maria's links will be shared in the show notes below this episode. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions or comments, any feedback also, please do share them in the comments below. And tune in next time for the next amazing guest. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Vulnerability, Introspection and Growth. I hope it's given you a moment to breathe, reflect, and perhaps even see your own story with a little more compassion. If you find this conversation meaningful, I'd love it if you'd share, subscribe, or leave a review. It helps others find their way here too. Until next time, take gentle care, and remember, the journey inwards is where the real growth begins.